I'm Sam, and this is Amazing Travels. Hey guys, you're here because you have your sights set on Berlin, and let me tell you, your vision is 2020. This mega European city is absolutely fascinating, and it's rich with history, a lot of it being recent history. I got the chance to live there for 2 years, and I felt like there was still so much more I could see. This guide here is perfect for a Berlin first-timer. We're gonna hit all the major sites, and we're gonna kick it off with all things Berlin Wall. Let's go. First up, we're gonna start at the Oberbaumbrücke. Opened in 1896, the architecture of this bridge makes it my favorite bridge in the city. It links Friedrichshain and Kreuzberg, former neighborhoods that were divided by the Berlin Wall, and has become an important symbol of Berlin's unity. This is the perfect place to start your stroll down the famous East Side Gallery. At 1.3 kilometers long, this is the largest stretch of the Berlin Wall still standing. Soon after the wall came down in November 1989, artists began painting murals on it, commenting on the political changes that were happening at that moment. Since then, the open-air gallery has been protected with memorial status. The East Side Gallery is a must-see, but in my opinion, the best way to feel the magnitude, the impact of the Berlin Wall had on Berliners is to visit the Berlin Wall Memorial on Bernauer Strasse. The visitor centers are free, and one has an observation deck where you can see how the wall was set up. In reality, it was two walls with what was known as the death strip in between them. After the visitor center, walk along Bernauer Strasse where the wall formerly stood. It's basically a linear museum laid out with real-life stories and historical facts. If we're talking about the Berlin Wall, I'm sure you've heard about Checkpoint Charlie. This is arguably the most famous former Berlin Wall crossing between East and West Berlin. Today you can see a smaller replicated version of the original checkpoint booth. Be warned, Checkpoint Charlie is super touristy, but it's worth a look. Just down the road from there, you should visit the Topography of Terror. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of fun, and it's really not, because it covers a dark part of history, but it's for sure worth a visit. The Topography of Terror is a free museum that sits on the site of the former SS Reich security office during the Nazi regime. It sheds light on the crimes they committed across Europe. Plus, on site, there is a memorial to the Berlin Wall. This 200-meter section next to the museum was never demolished and is the longest surviving segment of the outer wall. Since we touched on the Nazi regime, if you're interested in this part of history, you definitely need to take a day trip to Sachsenhausen concentration camp and memorial. This memorial and museum showcases the atrocities that took place on site there from 1936 to 1945. Sachsenhausen was a labor camp containing several subcamps, a gas chamber, and a medical experimentation area. The museum is located in Oranienburg, about a 45-minute train ride from Berlin's city center. It's impactful, it's educational, it's a perfect addition to your itinerary. Another must-see in Berlin is the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe. There are two parts to this monument, both are free to enter. The first being the Field of Stele. At first glance, these stone slabs seem to be uniform. You have to walk among them through the narrow passages to feel its sort of power and impact. The memorial also has an underground information center which documents the persecution and extermination of the Jews of Europe and the historical sites of those crimes. For a more in-depth look into Jewish history, visit the Jewish Museum Berlin. The museum presents the history of Jews in Germany from the Middle Ages to the present day, and is perhaps most famous for the architectural design of the Liebeskind building. This is one of my top recommendations for things to do in the city. It's fascinating and well presented. Near the memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe, there are a couple of landmarks you just have to see. For one, the Reichstag Building. Since 1999, this has been the seat of the German parliament, and the building's history extends back to 1884 when construction first began. The coolest thing is you can visit the glass dome of the building and its rooftop terrace. Heads up, to do this you must register online in advance. From there, head to the iconic Brandenburg Gate. Completed in 1791, the Brandenburger Tor has been the site of many historical events. Some fun facts: for over 100 years, only the royal family would be allowed to pass through the gate. The Nazis used it as a party symbol. The gate survived World War II and ended up on the Soviet side of the occupied zone. And after the fall of the wall, it symbolized freedom and the desire to unify the city. From the Brandenburg Gate, you could see Berlin's victory column, the Siegessäule, to the west. The walk to the Siegessäule takes you through the center of Tiergarten, Germany's third largest urban garden. As you cross the street to Tiergarten, you'll notice a line of bricks dotting the street. This marks the spot of where the Berlin Wall formerly stood. To imagine how easily we cross this today, something that was punishable by death just a few decades ago. To the east of the Brandenburg Gate, walk the famous Unter den Linden. It is the oldest boulevard in the city, and it'll lead you to another very famous landmark, the Berlin Cathedral. Built from 1894 to 1905, the Berliner Dome is the biggest Protestant church in Germany. The exterior architecture is marvelous. I suggest you shell out the couple of euros it costs to climb the stairs to the top of the dome. Not only do you get to enjoy the interior, but the 360-degree view of the city from the top is excellent. The Berliner Dome, by the way, sits on Museum Island, which, if you couldn't figure out, is an island with a bunch of museums on it. Museumsinsel is a UNESCO World Heritage Site consisting of 5 museums built by order of Prussian kings, and is also home to a few other points of interest. Museum lovers rejoice, you have found your island. Now on to one of the most frequented squares in all of Berlin, Alexanderplatz. Visible from many parts of the city, the square's iconic TV tower, the Fernsehturm, juts out into the sky. Standing at over 1,200 feet, it was the 4th tallest freestanding structure in the world when it was built in the mid-1960s. To this day, it's the tallest structure in all of Germany. On a clear day, the panoramic view from the observation deck is 100% worth it. For fun on the ground, look for trampolines built into the square around the TV tower. They're super awesome. While at Alexanderplatz, check out the world clock. Famous for the unique way it displays the current time in 148 major cities from around the world. From there, walk over to the Rotes Rathaus, Red City Hall. Built between 1861 and 1869, it was heavily damaged during World War II and rebuilt to the original plans in the 1950s. After that, discover the oldest part of the city, wandering through the narrow streets of Nikolai Theater. This is an old quarter of the German capital of Berlin, founded around the year 1200. Walking around, imagine yourself in the Middle Ages, back to the German capital's beginnings. This quarter of the city was named after Nikolai Kirche, which was built between 1220 and 1230. Nearby, you can also scope out Marienkirche, which is believed to be built around the same time. These two are Berlin's oldest churches. What do you say to exploring a palace? Berlin's got that too. Schloss Charlottenburg. Construction started in the late 1600s. Its Baroque architecture is beautiful. You can see the extravagantly decorated interior for a fee, but roaming the gorgeous palace gardens is free, and where I prefer to spend my time when I visit. Gendarmenmarkt Square is my go-to Christmas market when I'm in Berlin for the holidays, and really just a gorgeous place to visit in general. Right now it's under construction, so it is loud, but I suggest you still go. They have a viewing platform where you could still check out the fabulous architecture. Gendarmenmarkt Square is widely considered the most beautiful square in the city. Its charm comes from the buildings around it. The German Cathedral, the French Cathedral, and the Concert House. Go admire them and let me know how construction's going. Following this guide will give you a great overview of Berlin and give you a feel for its history. Taking 3 to 5 days is really the bare minimum because you're gonna see how expansive and large this city really is. It's just so spread out and it has so much going on that you're really gonna wanna take your time with it or keep going back every once in a while to see what's new. Now, the nightlife in Berlin is world famous, so make sure you lose some sleep when you visit. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to my channel for more tips, tricks, travel guides, and all of that. It was awesome having you guys here. Hope to see you soon. And now just get out of here and go explore.